it's like a lot of the paintings and stuff like that. I see a lot of sacred geometry. So it's there. It's just very watered down.
Or it's not even being recognized for what it is.
It's like a lot of the paintings and stuff like that. I see a lot of sacred geometry.
Are we looking to start now, or we're starting? Or
Been live listening to y'all build.
So there's only some people here.
well, there's some better than none. Which one did you get on?
Nuggets all around. Nugget.
Yes. What?
You do that first, or? This is one on your end, this is one on your end.
Oh, you know, man, just trying to get this business all set up.
This is the
Hopefully, man, anymore. No.
This is the
Yeah, we got our turf on. We got our old turf on the other day, so we'll be installing it this week on the floor and stuff, and then it should be 10 to 14 days that we can open.
all right. Where's that up at?
Birch Mountain and Ellesmere.
All right. So what are you wanting 4 and 2? Before that.
4 seconds. So that's okay.
12 there. So $40. How much? Yeah, so it's all right, so okay, man. So you guys get started saying a couple of weeks, you're saying?
So it's there. It's just very watered down.
Or it's not even being recognized. Maybe a couple of weeks.
It's like a lot of the paintings and stuff like that. I see a lot of sacred geometry.
Oh, yes.
And listen to me, and look at you excited to do with it. Make sure you do it.
Sure. I mean, no.
I'll just get a water down.
Okay. And
Peace, Mars. Huh? Rise, Father on the left, 2 on the right. Allah, the Father of the universe.
Allah, Father of the universe.
Father of love,
Father of love,
truth,
truth,
peace,
peace,
freedom,
freedom,
and justice.
and justice.
Allah is my protector,
Allah is my protector,
my guide,
my God,
and my salvation.
and my salvation.
By night
By night
and by day,
and by day,
to his holy prophet,
through his holy prophet,
Noble Jwali.
no shadow.
Ashe.
Ashe.
Islam. Prophet warns all Muslims, governors, ordered to read proclamation at every meeting. I hereby inform all members that they must end all radical, agitating speeches while at work, in their homes, or on the streets. We are for peace and not destruction. Stop flashing your cards at Europeans, it causes confusion. Remember, your cards are for your salvation. Failure to obey these orders will be of severe consequence. We are for love, truth, peace, freedom, and when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any member or group of members who hold malicious feelings toward the temple or the prophet, or violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement, will receive their reward from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors will and must obey the law as laid down to them by their prophet. If they lose confidence in their prophet, they should turn in their card and button, cease wearing their turban and fez, and return to the state where I, the prophet, found you. This is a holy and divine movement founded by the prophet Noble Jwali, and if the prophet is not right, the temple is not right. The prophet, therefore, is sending out a divine plea to all Moorish Americans that they do their part in protecting their prophet and the temple. This is an everlasting movement founded by the prophet through the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways. Noble Jwali. To be proclaimed in every meeting. Islam. I am glad to know that I have a few faithful Moors among you all, and I desire for them to know the truth and the divine truth. There is a host of jealousy about me and the movement now by the same people of our side of the nation that claim that I was only a joke and unreal. But now, since they have found out from the government officials and the nations of the earth that this is the only sole foundation that all Asiatics must depend upon for their earthly salvation as American citizens, they are working every scheme that they can to disqualify me so they may take charge of the situation. I have notified all these things to you long ago in the past. It is through the faithful Moors that attribute to the movement and uplifting funds. The ones that paid their divine respect to me and the movement will be remembered. That is why I am calling upon all faithful Moors to increase their faithfulness to me, your prophet, and your divine Moorish movement. I need finance and I need it badly. Never before have I needed finance so badly as I do at present, so I can shove aside the discord that is facing the nation. It all comes through jealousy because of my fame and nobility. The nations of the world will not recognize the movement without I, the prophet, being head. It has been proven by my works which I have performed in the past few years. To the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America, this is the instruction from your prophet, Noble Jwali. Be faithful unto your forefathers' divine and national creed, that you will be blessed for your good deeds that you sow in the flesh. Allah is the one that judges the world, and his judgment is now on, but the weak can comprehend it not. The end of time is drawing near, so says Allah to his divine prophet, I, Noble Jwali, and that's why many hearts have been turned to stone. Many have eyes to see but cannot see, ears to hear but cannot hear, lest they would be confounded of their sins. These are trying hours now, dear Moors, and every evil spirit is moving, and they are trying every weak mind to overthrow and drag out the true foundation that has been laid, and to cause confusion in the minds of the ones that do believe. But if you have the true love of Allah and the spirit of your forefathers, you fear not what you hear or see, but will sacrifice the utmost of your very life to protect your movement and your prophet. Watch your enemies, dear Moors. Your enemies are the ones that speak against your prophet and ridicule him to the very lowest, and the ones that speak against your divine and national principles of your temples. Act accordingly, and Allah would bless you for your good work. Peace, your divine prophet, Noble Jwali. Islam. So we'll be going through some Quran today. Yeah, we'll be doing some Quran today. But we also have open floor for questions. So if you have any questions, throw those out. Anybody in the chat got questions? You could email that to canaanlandguide@gmail.com. So we're going to start from chapter 48 and make our way to chapter 1. So, and any dues, donations, MST of A dot do for nation 7@gmail.com. MST of A dot do for nation 7@gmail. So the Holy Quran of Moorish Holy Temple of Science, Moorish Science Temple of America. So before we do that, we'll just read the call you through. Call you through. Your Omar's gonna call you. Yeah. Omar's gonna call you. All right. Noah Drawley starts off with know thyself and thy father God Allah. The genealogy of Jesus, with 18 years of the events, life, works, and teachings in India, Europe, and Africa. These events occurred before he was 30 years of age. These secret lessons are for all those who love Jesus and desire to know about his life works and teachings. Dear readers, do not falsely use these lessons. They are, hey buddy.
Something first come, first serve. Sorry. We're having
The genealogy.
First come, first.
The genealogy of Jesus, with 18 years of the events, life, works, and teachings in India, Europe, and Africa. These events occurred before he was 30 years of age. These secret lessons are for all those who love Jesus and desire to know about his life works and teachings. Dear readers, do not falsely use these lessons. They are for good, peace, and happiness for all those that love Jesus. Dear mothers, teach these lessons to your little ones that they may learn to love instead of hate. Dear fathers, by these lessons you can set your house in order and your children would learn to love instead of hate. The lessons of this pamphlet are not for sale, but for the sake of humanity. As I am a prophet and the servant is worthy of his hire, you can receive this pamphlet at expense. The reason these lessons have not been known is because the Muslims of India, Egypt, and Palestine had these secrets and kept them back from the outside world. And when the time appointed by Allah, they loosened the keys and freed the secrets. And for the first time in ages, have these secrets been delivered in the hands of the Muslims of America. All authority and rights of publishing of this pamphlet of 1927 by the Prophet Noble Ali. The industrious acts of the Muslims of Northwest and Southwest Africa. These are the Moabites, Hamathites, Canaanites, who were driven out of the land of Canaan by Joshua and received permission from the pharaohs of Egypt to settle in that portion of Egypt. In later days, they formed themselves kingdoms. These kingdoms are called this day Morocco, Algiers, Tunis, Tripoli, etc. So anybody in the Anybody in the conscious community, know thyself, woke, or whatever, that is pushing the idea of know thyself, should be telling you about noble duality, since he's the one who told us who our true self is, and the fact that the self is two. Higher and lower self, right? No one knows this. So knowledge of your higher self and your lower self is what know thyself. As soon as we have know thyself, and then they're starting to talk about, you know, the other galaxies and quasars, and we came from behind planets and all that, you know that they don't know their self. Because if they know their self, it should be based on here. Because here's where we're existing, living, breathing, exercising our five senses or whatever. We're not doing anything out there unless we're going into meditation, astral travel, or whatever, which at that point, know thyself is irrelevant because you're one with the all at that point, right? So, anything that, or is it, all right, anybody else? That's something. Know thyself, and know thyself and thy Father God Allah. Right? You again, Father, Atare, God, verb transitive, so it's an action, not a being. And then Allah, arm, leg, arm, head. So to know thyself, which is the higher and the lower self, would lead you to knowing that you don't even have to go into all the drama. Because we're talking about, this is just the first 2 lines that he put up. If in the first 2, and then, you know, as we go, you would go into, you know, you would go into deeper, okay, well, who's Patah, and then who's Ray? Or what's Patah and what's Ray? That's going to lead you over somewhere. God being a transitive verb. Arm, leg, arm, head, or Allah and man, which again goes back to these 18 years of Jesus' life where he went and did all this studying to find out his higher self and lower self. Which is why these 18 years that they prescribed to Aquarian gospel the 18 years that they prescribed to the Aquarian gospel is the quote-unquote missing years of Jesus' life that nobody knows what happened. He went, turned over the money changers, and then he's the Christ of the whatever. And the in-between, nobody even cares to know. All they know, that's their son of God and all this, right? When we go into fortune, would always, when we're doing the prayer, actually make reference to the feminine aspects, right? Right? Allah, mother of the universe. Instead of father of the universe. To change the frequency of what is being ingested. As we went along, you start doing the studying again. You go to the father origin, and everything leads back to mother. That there's not a masculine aspect as far as the divine, right? It's strictly based in feminine.
The etymology is feminine.
Yeah.
Of the word,
Yeah.
A lot
Right.
of feminine.
Yeah. Because also you have Allah, and then you have Allah back there, and that Muslim never gonna go there. You start talking about feminine gods and stuff like that, now you have contradiction in religion where that's not even supposed to exist, which again shatters their thing and then puts knowledge duality back in the front as this is what it's really about as far as our spirituality, our religion, our identity, or whatever like that. Covered all bases.
But that goes
For
back
us.
to the duality. Because just as we have the higher and the lower,
Right.
in this realm we have the masculine and the feminine.
Right,
And each one needs each other to create and to
Right.
go forward.
right. Now, when we look at that duality,
Yin and yang.
when we look at the duality, that's the duality, but what's the thing that's housing the duality?
Oh,
Which has nothing to do with masculine and feminine. So yeah, the duality is there, but there's something that the duality has to be exercising in. The dual nature is not gonna exist because there's a masculine and then there's a feminine. It has to exist in something, right? Which is why we always go back to self, because that dual nature is in the being when we're saying the higher self or the lower self, and then we relate that to Allah, and we say, right? We say universe, but the you and I makes up the verse. Right? So again, going back to, yes, there's the higher and the lower, but those two things, regardless of, even if we say hot water, cold water, you need the faucet, which would be the thing that's making it have that duality, that one thing making this duality manifest, right? Putting both hot and cold on at the same time, then you get warm, which is those same two being one or working in harmony so that one doesn't take over the other. Right? And this is why, again, duality told us to know the higher self and the lower self. So once you know that one and then you know that one, that takes you into a whole different realm where you're going to be doing that, that duality thing again, which is again going to the laws of nature, and they say law of gender. That's really law of duality. Law of cause and effect. That's really law of duality. Law of correspondence. That's really duality. So all of them are based in exactly what you're saying, but the all is what houses or allows this, and we go to on that level when we say even with the zodiac, right? The 12 are each individual parts, but they have a polar reflection because it's a half of a circle, and then everybody has their counterpart. That if somebody's together with somebody that their signs aren't really whatever, then you ain't gonna have them. Because they didn't know thyself. So you get stuff when you don't do what it is that's in line with what's supposed to be in line with. So again, the genealogy of Jesus with 18 years of the events, life, works, and teachings in India, Europe, and Africa. If there are any questions, someone just throw those up or any comments. These events occurred before he was 30 years of age. And also remember too that anytime you see Noble Drew Ali talking about, anytime Drew Ali is talking about numbers, know that he's talking about etymology or he's talking about numerology. He's talking about knowing that certain things that he's presented is for spiritual enlightenment. It's to take you past the mundane that everybody else has been trying to keep us at, right? You're opening the floodgates so that we can be, so we can be receivers in order to transmit properly. Majority of the people who are teaching or putting information up are only transmitters. Like they don't do any metaphysical, astrological, occult, or whatever. They don't go there. They stick to cut and dry. One of the most metaphysical places on the planet that you can go to if you want to know something about anything dealing with higher sciences or anything like that, right? Moors went there, gave them everything that they got, which again goes back to this highly metaphysical, scientific place that this individual went to go learn, right? Again, with Africa too, same thing. So much culture here that other people got created whatever they created with it. Now they're taking that and they're prosperous with that. And these people are talking about European Jesus is their God or whatever. And convinced that that's what's up. I'm convinced that yeah, there is a European coming back for them or whatever. Right? These secret lessons are for all those who love Jesus and desire to know about his life, works, and teachings. Right, again. So, just in the intro, he's appealing to all the people who love this individual. Whether European, Asiatic, whatever like that, doesn't matter. If you love him, then you should be open to the 18 years of his life that they didn't tell you about in the book that you got. Which again is why the Moorish movement took off the way that it did during that time. Because that's all those people had. Some Jesus and Christianity, and that's it. The gospel, right? The gospel. Yeah. Dear readers, do not falsely use these lessons. Right? So that's applying to all the individuals who got the lessons. Right? Whether they got it through Levi Dowling, Aquarian Gospel or whatever, or whether they got it through Noble Drew Ali. if you're reading this, the point is that you're trying to know yourself. The whole point is to know yourself more. You know what I mean? Like we were talking about yesterday, Brother Yasun was talking about, regardless of what, got the Quran on me. Even if I don't read it that day. It's just on me, just because. Just has to be on me. Right? There was a few more who they had, you know, they had one everywhere that it was a place to them. So their ride has one, and then the washroom has one, and then everywhere has the Quran. It's like, if this is the book, right? If this is the book, then let's deal with it properly, right? Yeah, right. So the false use of these lessons statement was not just for the people who are being introduced to this, but the people who had gotten this. And he already saw that they were taking it and they were having their own little stuff over here. You know what I mean? You look at all the people who left and started something new after they left the Moorish movement. All these lessons they got. For them to have these lessons and then people tell people about, oh yeah, holy book, and then they're showing the Q Quran or whatever. When they had this, and then they're not showing this, they're only showing whatever book that their boy brought or whatever, playing people. Because everything in this book is about man reaching a higher mental state. So once you reach that higher mental state, then your physical state would have some type of change happen.
And it's one of those things where you can't really even explain it how you're explaining it.
Right. Yeah, until you read it.
You just have to read it.
Right? You know what I mean? Dear readers, do not falsely use these lessons. They are for good, peace, happiness, for all those that love Jesus. And again, when you go to always get that metaphysical Bible dictionary. The Metaphysical Bible Dictionary will give you the true essence of Jesus. The true essence of Jesus. So that when you hear Noble Juali talk about, for those that love Jesus and Jesus this and that and Jesus whatever, you're not like the black guys, oh, he said Jesus, so that means European on the wall of some church or whatever. There's, you name them. All of them have metaphysical properties. Right? Doesn't matter. Things, river, trees, whatever. All different stuff have this metaphysical meaning behind it. So that as soon as we read, we get exactly what it is that's being relayed.
That's why knowing etymology is so important, man.
Yeah.
You know, all those things really refer to what they really mean, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Not necessarily people.
Right. Dear mothers, teach these lessons to your little ones, that they may learn to love instead of hate. Off the top. Teach these lessons. So you're not teaching them these lessons for anything else first. The main point of these lessons being relayed to them is so that they can learn to love instead of hate. Once they start exuding that, then they're gonna have a good life. Because again, these lessons are for good, peace, and happiness. Right? Dear fathers, by these lessons you can set your house in order and your children will learn to love instead of hate. There is again about this theme of learning to love instead of hate. that obviously our biggest problem is we hate too much. So what is it that, like, what do we hate? What is it that we hate? Most of all, we hate ourselves. The main point, learn to love instead of hate, is love yourself. So you can stop hating yourself, which would make you love others and stop hating others. Brother Omar.
No, it's all right.
Yeah, it's okay. All right. The lessons of this pamphlet are not for sale, but for the sake of humanity. As I am a prophet and the servant is worthy of his hire, you can receive this pamphlet at expense.
Those Tony, like, no, you don't gotta buy like the Bible, you know?
Right. Or expense is the least that you should be, or the most that you should be given, is that the expense that it is to this. And then he made the point, because people are gonna, you know, the people who want to charge people packages and tell people about consultation fees, and I call him Morris. I was on the phone with Morris for an hour, and he told me 50 notes an hour, but you didn't get no info out of it. You just got some freaking conversation or whatever, right? That's the people he's talking to about this idea of receiving the pamphlet at expense, but he's a prophet and he's worthy of his hire. But he's not even telling you 500. And he's a prophet who's really worthy of that. He should be able to just go in the pockets and just give the finance, because that's the prophet. Should be no question. And he has it like that, and he's saying, no, this is the expense. Don't even get played by people trying to play that stuff on you. That Joali left you all this to save yourself and save your nation, but somebody's going to tell you about 50 an hour because you got a problem and you got court and they got to talk to you or whatever like that. So, you know, for them to give you the secret lessons of the whatever to get out of any court situation, pay them finance. When that same secret lesson or whatever is probably coming from paper that costs how much ever, 10 cents, 5 cents, 3 cents, depending where you go per page to print. You got 100 pages at 3 cents, people shouldn't be telling you 5 grand. So if a 50-page document, it should be telling you 5 grand. Because it should be able to be given at expense. And again, it's going back to the thing of, you know, if the prophet who can tell you 500 an hour, 500-minute consultation, I'm the prophet. I could call out spirits and do all types of stuff. If the man who can tell you the highest cost for you to get whatever it is telling you expense only, even though I'm worthy of hire, I'm not going to kill you. Right? This is why in the literature you had in the oral statements, there was a saying that some sister went to the temple to go get healed or whatever, and she went to the temple to get healed, and whoever it was told her that you gotta come back tomorrow. Because man's been dealing with people all day. You gotta line up out the door, this guy healing people. Just come back tomorrow, let man get his rest. Let him get his, now if he's got to line up like that, it's probably not 5 grand for to go see him. It's probably just put something in the whatever. Talk to the whoever, give them a little, you know what I mean? You know, give them a little donation or something like that. The reason these lessons have not been known is because the Muslims of India, Egypt, and Palestine had these secrets and kept them back from the outside world. And when the time appointed by Allah, they loosened the keys and freed these secrets. And for the first time in ages, these secrets have been delivered in the hands of the Muslims of America. So that's the what gets applied by the Rastafarians to Haile Selassie about the 7 seals or whatever and stuff like that is supposed to be Noble Drew Ali. Remember, even Noble Drew Ali was before him being coronated, where they say that he's the man now and all that stuff, because he got coronated in 1930. No, we're talking about before 1930 with this. And again, this idea of, you know, loosening the keys and freeing the secrets, and the first time this information, all that stuff's revelation. So he's talking after after revelations. Okay, here comes the prophet now with all the things, but it's not going to be him, because the prophet before him told these people that ye are gods. You just here just to remind us, stimulate us mentally again, get us moving again, because we became stagnant. We became passive. We became dead. We became, you know, not able to exercise what we should be exercising. Now again, the Muslims of India, who they say that's who has Yahshua's body for real, right? Egypt, where all the information that we have today came from the Moors inheriting the culture of the ancient Egyptians and taking it around the world, so everybody could have something. And Palestine, which we know goes back to ancient Canaan, and then Noble Drew Ali's founding the Canaanite temple, and Israel not being real, so the whole Jew thing is not real, which means the whole Hitler thing is not real, and all it's a unraveling of the consciousness of the people, so that it can be put back together in the right perspective. Even just with so chapter 48, the end of time and fulfilling of the prophecies. The last prophet in these days is Noble Drew Ali, who was prepared divinely in due time by Allah to redeem men from their sinful ways and to warn them of the great wrath which is sure to come upon the earth. Also, I want to get the dictionary there and just get the wrath out of there. The last prophet in these days is Noble Drew Ali, who was prepared divinely in due time by Allah to redeem men from their sinful ways. And warn them of the great wrath which is sure to come upon the earth. You got the wrath?
Strong, vengeful anger or indignation, retributory punishment for an offense or a crime, divine chastisement. Synonyms: see anger. And the French wrath.
Right. Vengeful anger, retributory punishment. Now, the real deal is that the great wrath is, oh, you got there too?
Yeah, it says not merely anger, but violent anger.
Violent anger. Now, what's really happening is that the people have been so, when we're talking higher self, lower self. The people have been so conditioned here that wrath is only these and not this. Because after that, this is gone. Guaranteed.
No.
You're not gonna have the fall, or you're not gonna have the rise without the fall. This, right? The fall has to happen before the rise can happen. Has to. And we were at this place. If we're calling ourselves Negro, Black, Colored, and those aren't even identities or people or nations or tribes or anything like that, then definitely we were here. We were already here. And then he also made reference to the wrath being great. Why would the vengeful, violent anger, retributory punishment be great if there wasn't something backing it? If there wasn't something that you were going to get after the wrath? John the Baptist was the forerunner of Jesus in those days to warn and stir up the nation and prepare them to receive the divine creed, which was to be taught by Jesus. In these modern days, there came a forerunner that was divinely prepared by the great God Allah, and his name is Marcus Garvey, who did teach the world, who did taught and warn the nations of the earth to prepare to meet the coming prophet, who was to bring the true and divine creed of Islam, and his name is Noble Drew Ali, who was prepared and sent to this earth by Allah to teach the old-time religion and the everlasting gospel to the sons of men, that every nation shall and must worship under their own vine and fig tree, and return to their own and be one with their Father God Allah.
All road has fallen for sure.
Right?
You got both sides over here. You got the corporate side over here. You see on the media you notice how the Democrats and Republicans are fighting over there.
Yeah.
You got the big thing over here with
Yeah.
the
liberals and the
Democrats.
Yeah.
So everything's just crumbling all in one.
Yeah.
It's coming down. It's been falling, but this is like you're seeing with your eyes now. You know?
Yeah. But what do they keep doing? They keep, every time the thing falls, they keep building back up on the lower self, dumb people who are the base for them to build on. As soon as these people stand up, they're no more playing games on their back. But they haven't gotten to that place because they haven't gotten the lessons. And the lessons are out there for them to get, but ain't nobody telling them. But as soon as they start seeing Qurans and stuff like that, they start thinking of something Islamic or whatever, and it throws them right off. Right? In these modern days, there came a forerunner that was divinely prepared. His name was Marcus Garvey. Taught and warned the nations of the earth, right? Not just of North America or whatever, of the earth, to prepare to meet the coming prophet, who was to bring the true and divine creed of Islam. How was he prepared? Because Yusuf Muhammad Ali was who introduced Marcus Garvey to him even knowing himself. Because Marcus Garvey was writing for Yusuf Muhammad Ali's newspaper before he was UNIA, whatever. So all the RBG, Garvey, whoever's need to give honors to this Moor right here, because they wouldn't even have a Marcus Garvey if it wasn't for this Moor right here. That everybody knew that he was a Moor. They didn't think he was black, assume he was black, think, you know, put him under some Negro or whatever like that. He was acknowledged by Europeans as who he says that he is. Historian, author, playwright, actor, going down the list of all the stuff. He's acknowledged in every one of those things, not by our people, by Europeans. And that's the guy that taught Marcus Garvey. Again, prepping him to do the work that he's supposed to do as the forerunner to Noble Drew Ali, without even Marcus Garvey knowing that that's what his position was. Right? Hence the 1927 Drew Ali, Marcus Garvey, and Elijah Muhammad seen in pictures together. Which is why 1928 to 1929 systematic attempts to make sure that this individual is out of circulation and make sure that Noble Drew Ali is out of circulation. Because that's the forerunner and the prophet. They know that much. The people who are fighting us know that much. Right? Excuse me. Right?
I thought you would take my shoes or something.
The UNIA. The UNIA hymns, all the UNIA hymns. All the UNIA hymns started and ended with some type of Allah or whatever. All of them. Now, if this UNIA, Universal Negro Improvement Association, and then that has, you know, thousands of members. And all these thousands of members are singing hymns in there, talking about praise Allah and all that type of stuff. Where do you think that stuff was going to go if Marcus Garvey and Noble Drew Ali got together? That would be manifestation of the prophecy. That would be the actual prophecy manifesting itself in real time. Because people would be able to do the work, the research, to see that, hey, hold on a second, he's actually leading us towards Islam. He's not leading us to some black African, go back to Africa, or he got boats for us to go back to Africa. He had boats for us to do trade with the continent. You know, those little ring-ding boats that he got was taking anybody anywhere. Like, it wasn't even boats like that to take somebody anywhere. But that's where the people are caught up with, right? Every nation must worship under their own vine and fig tree. They attribute that to Garvey only. But that's in Noble Drew Ali's literature. Was that a Garvey thing? He made that up? Or was that just some generic thing that anybody who was of that mind or anybody who dealt with metaphors or allegory or whatever, they could make that reference point? But again, to play this game of making our people look like this is just an individual thing, or one guy brought whatever for our people, not after 1930, right? And again, right? But where they get it? They didn't get it from where they had it from. They had pre stuff too, right? The Moorish Holy Temple of Science is a lawfully chartered and incorporated organization. Any subordinate temple that desires to receive a charter, the Prophet has them to issue to every state throughout the United States. Right? So, you can check charter in the dictionary too. So all these different whatevers that's been popping up, claiming that they're for the liberation of the people or whatever, they should just put a Moorish Science Temple sign. Stop playing with people. Because who were these people around Noah Drawley's time? Probably not in existence. Weren't even around. All the stuff that we see today, claiming that they're the Moorish whatever. That stuff wasn't around during Noah Drawley's time. Where'd that stuff come from? Some individual. Again, jealous of the fame and nobility, wants to get some of that. So they create whatever, have people chasing those things, thinking that that's for their liberation, when it's really to their detriment. Because it's not going to be based in the principles that Noble Drawley brought. That, we're doing this to uplift all humanity, which means that this is service to humanity. This is not a job that, oh yeah, we liberate our people, so it's our job, we're liberating our people. No, you do that as service. Not doing that to make $1 million. Or we wrote a book, so we want to sell 50 million books so that we can say that we're the #1 author of whatever. That's not what the presentation is. The presentation is to make sure that the people receive the information so that their mind state could be better. And once their mind state's better, everything else is going to correct itself automatically. It's not even rocket science. And which is what he knew, which is why the book's so small. It's not even like you got a dictionary to read to get the quote unquote lessons that are going to save our people. Any
Charter?
subordinate temple that desires to receive a charter, since the Moorish Holy Temple of Science and Moorish Science Temple of America is chartered and incorporated. And Noble Drawley said, issue to every state in the United States. Charter.
A written instruction or contract as a deed, executed in due form. A grant or guarantee of rights, franchises, or privileges from the sovereign power of a state or country. A written instrument that creates and defines the franchises of a city, educational institution, or corporation. Constitution. A written instruction from the authorities of society creating a lodge or branch. A special privilege, immunity, or exemption. A mercantile lease of a ship or of some principal part of it. A charter travel arrangement. And then there's another one also. Charter, to establish, enable, or convey by charter. To hire, rent, or lease for exclusive and or temporary use. A boat for deep sea fishing, synonym hire, charter. Relating to or being a travel arrangement in which transportation, as a bus or plane, is hired by and for one specific group of people.
An instrument emanating from the sovereign power in the nature of a grant either to the whole nation or to a class or portion of the people or to a colony or dependency, and assuring to them certain rights, liberties, or powers.
Now remember, we're talking about quote-unquote chartered and incorporated organization. So the limited perspective that people have of a charter is some type of contract, some type of written document that gives somebody an authority to exercise as this incorporated organization, whatever. All right? Get that one again? Yeah.
An instrument emanating from the sovereign power in the nature of a grant either to the whole nation or to a class or portion of the people or to a colony or dependency, and assuring to them certain rights, liberties, or powers.
So the purpose of Moore Science Temple having a charter is so that the people can be a nation, they can have their rights, and they can have the ability to exercise those rights based on them being part of that organization.
It also says constitution.
Right, because the charter is emanating from a sovereign, which knows who all he was.
So so in fact, we're not the sovereign citizens, he's our sovereign.
He's our sovereign,
He's our sovereign.
but we aren't the sovereign citizens.
Oh.
Right? No.
One for one.
So no more.
Twice you say no. We'll let it happen again,
Right? So this idea of when people start talking about Noble Incorporated, the Moore Science Temple, and they go into the statutes, code, ordinances of incorporation, and forget that the charter itself, that is the reason why there's the organization. It's not because of he went and registered something with some U.S. corpse or some Cooks County whatever, or he filed some 805 whatever, or he's using some statute and people are getting caught up in, oh yeah, well, you know, well, he mentioned the statute, so we're going to go over here and we're going to start dealing with statutes. When man say constitution, if you're talking charters. If people want to talk charters and they want to do religious or incorporated and whatever like that, you're free. You're free to do whatever you want with your charter powers. Our charter powers are getting from a sovereign. And then the power of that charter is transferred to everybody who's part of the organization, because really it's not really about organization, it's really about nation. Which is again why they put it in the law dictionary as far as the definition, that it's dealing with nation or tribe or colony or whatever. Canada got charter. Toronto has a charter, but they didn't get that from a sovereign power. They got that from de facto sovereign power, which the power is totally different, because once it's coming from a de facto sovereign power, now the people who are claiming to be sovereign can't claim that they're sovereign because they're de facto. And they just played themselves by even pushing it like that, which is why, again, the thing with when you get tickets now, they're going to tell you, oh, you just go do it online or whatever. Because they can't pretend like they're the authority anymore, because the game's over. The amount of work that Moore has been doing just across North America with regard to standing up for the right that we have as sovereign individuals that are part of a nation and have a nationality. Shut all these people's stuff down. So from whatever jurisdiction, whether family court, traffic court, civil court, criminal court, whatever. They've had Moors in all those different jurisdictions that mess those people's stuff up. Why they can't move how they move right now? They have to switch up things to make it look like they're still, you know, walking when they're just doing this or whatever, and people think they're doing something. Right? You got some more?
Just from the perspective that they're using the concept of charter from the colony perspective. And from the Admiralty perspective, that's what the charter that they've been given
Right.
in so-called England.
Yeah.
And the colony here, and they're chartered to have those rights,
Right.
almost an extension of England on the land here.
On the land, yeah.
But what you're stating is that the colony could only exist if there was something not below the colony,
Right.
per se.
Yeah.
So it's like you're saying, it's a de facto charter.
Yeah.
They're sort of
Yeah.
engaging.
Right. And which is why again on the tickets they talk about corporation or whatever.
Right, which is neither here nor there from where I'm getting to, which is I think the prophet said in his warnings that we better be careful because ultimately we have bought into the de facto.
Mm-hmm.
So all of us tomorrow, if we don't get our so-called Rule 20, we ain't able to live.
Right.
We ain't able to do our things. And that I think what we need to continue to remember, this is really, like you say, about nationality principles and coming together as a nation, living together. He also warned us and prodded us to live together, because ultimately this war that they made financial and sort of whatever is really the distraction to what this really is, which is the control of ourselves and our community.
Right. Right.
So that this game with the tickets, all that stuff was yet again just distraction. They had you for a minute.
Yeah.
Now they're throwing that out the window because that's not what it was really about at all, ever. And we're still focusing on them. We're still off.
Right.
And that's what the game really is. It's about continuing to keep you off the mark.
Right.
So that's where I sense that all of that stuff, like I was saying to people earlier, is just indication that stuff is wrong. But I also wanted to say that it's also indication that stuff is right. Because if they keep you talking about nonsense, then they've got you. Because all of it's nonsense. All the stuff about the wars and all that stuff is going on. I'm convinced, you go to these other places, that's not what's really going on there. They've just got us convinced on certain levels that that's what's going on there. And that's to keep us thinking that, that the demons are at the door.
Yeah, yeah. People
Right.
people getting caught up in
All kinds of nonsense.
Yeah, yeah.
Dying here, people this. Always keep it in the news about black men being shot, cops getting off or not getting off. Always keeping, that whole. Because this is what I was coming to. I thought about this back in the day. It used to be they were hanging the Moors from the trees.
Yeah.
That was the active stuff when they were shooting down in the neighborhoods. You had to run. Now that stuff is all gone underground.
Yeah.
But it's still all there. But it's been entrenched in us. They're no longer, hunting us down and doing their lynch mob stuff.
Yeah.
The stuff is so ingrained in us that none of us know how to get back.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's still all I remember is telling me about my mom and all that stuff. It's still this black-white game.
Yeah. Yeah.
They've got us convinced is really out there. But that still is that's the divide and conquer.
Yeah.
So,
And again, that divide and conquer aspect is again what happened with the Moorish Holy Temple and Moorish Science Temple, with individuals not recognizing that the charter doesn't give you power to say that you could do whatever. How about just doing what Wali said? And keep it real simple, so that the people don't have the issues of not knowing or whatever like that. How many when we look at how many Moors out there who you heard, well, there's no temple where I'm at. There's no Moors where we're at. There's no, how come? People supposed to be, there's supposed to be stuff there. If man said any state that wants a charter, you can have one. And there was already subordinate temples, branch temples, grand major temple, the community centers, all that stuff, then it shouldn't have been nothing. Just how they got churches popping up everywhere, should have been temples everywhere. Same way. But all those individuals that they got churches and whatever are probably more Science Temple America people who took the lessons that they knew were for the salvation of the people, put them, or like what Omar says, go underground with it, and then come out on the top like minister of whatever.
So from the prophet for profit.
Yeah, yeah, literally, right?
I was also going to say that the charter, I think, was in response to the fall, the continued fall of us as a people. He sort of, in my mind, as he saw this thing falling, he put his stamp on it in the mundane way of creating that entity, that thing that he sort of registered in the corpse. That was, I think, just to hold on to what I would call a sort of legal, lawful construct.
Yeah, so you can get something.
And he was just basically trying to make sure that that sliver or
So
that wedge was in the
so you don't lose it all.
So you don't lose it all. But none of that, I can say, as you quoted from before, I think it was saying that most of the cards aren't for the European.
Yeah.
It's for our salvation.
Right.
So if the card is for our salvation, yet it's not to be used with the European, this is what I see in Cujo, then what's the card really for? And I said the card was really to prove to you that you were a national.
Yeah.
That's all the card meant. If you didn't have the ability to know that on your own, then here's a card that means something.
So you
Right?
can see that and think that you're somebody.
Because ultimately you weren't being able to feel it. You weren't then going to be able to go to the enemy and show them that card, and that was to give you a block.
Yeah.
That's what everyone's on right now.
Especially at that time.
But I got this card. Well, and even now.
Yeah. Right.
So yeah, I mean that's and I don't know. Do you ask if anyone has questions or
Yeah.
Who is that one?
And we thank you soon for all this.
I don't want to go somewhere else and buy something. You just stay out there. So
You supporting that little backpack?
couple days.
I gotta hold it up.
I need some or tourist calls up. Pause. Who touched it?
Nobody.
Who touched it?
Pause, dude. Pause by itself. The Moorish Holy Temple of Science is a lawfully chartered and incorporated organization. Any subordinate temple that desired to receive a charter, the Prophet asked them to issue to every state throughout the United States, etc. And then etc. I mean, it wasn't even just here. Everybody was getting charters to do something relative to this information, especially after finally he went to Pan American Conference or whatever like that. They might keep that stuff secret here, but the rest of the world is talking about what the hell happened at Pan American Conference. When this man came there and he started telling these people stuff and European wasn't saying anything. Zero. Just sat there and took it. None of the Indian tribes that were there, they weren't saying nothing. They weren't talking about, nah, he's not that, and none of that. They sat there and took it all.
It's not.
Right? That the world may hear and know the truth, that among the descendants of Africa, there is still much wisdom to be learned in these days for the redemption of the sons of men under love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. We as a clean and pure nation, descend from the inhabitants of Africa, do not desire to amalgamate or marry into the families of the pale-skinned nations of Europe, neither serve the gods of their religion, because our forefathers are the true and divine founders of the first religious creed for the redemption and salvation of mankind on earth. And so again, remember, this is chapter 48, this is the end of the book. So after you go through your, coming to the temple and you're starting to learn, now you have to deal with this thing that, you're not a Christian. Christianity is not your stuff. And that came from some Europeans. All the stuff grandma's been telling all that BS about Jesus and all that stuff. All these years, BS. You have to give that stuff back because that comes from the pale-skinned nations. That is not our stuff. Our ancestors had creed way before some Europeans had some religion. And then our ancestors' creed was expressed today as occult or mystical or nature worship or new age or whatever they want to claim it as. But notice all the people who practice those stuff, they're flourishing. Or people do with Buddhism, they're straight. The Islamic people are straight. The Hindu people, you name it. But anybody who's playing some European Jesus that's not European, they got serious problems in their life. And not only do they have those problems, but they also pass those problems down to their generations. Islam, more. Peace, more. Right? They pass those things down, and then now we're looking at, trying to fix and solve our problems and how are we gonna whatever like that. Me and Omar were talking about this riding up here, that with all the information that we have and access to information that we have, and we can't solve these problems yet that we got, there must be something else going on. And what's going on? We inherited stuff from our forerunners and forefathers that have us in this place where we can't get out of certain things because we don't know about the stuff our mom never talked about, that now we got to deal with it because stuff got transferred through DNA to us. Whatever it was that Dad had to deal with in his childhood that he never talked about, now we got to deal with it. And remember, because we're not dealing with it from what the source of the problem is, we're just taking aspirin. And hopefully the headache stops or whatever like that. If it doesn't, it'll pop another one. You'll be all right. But now you got pop 2. Now you got to watch for the kidney, and now you got to watch for the other stuff because you just threw everything off because that's not really what the problem is. Right? You had something, Omar?
Yeah. I was just talking about when you were talking about this, what we had been talking about in terms of what I think has been most taken from us, and I've been using the analogy with my family and my mother, that there are issues that all of us generationally go through in our upbringing, that I think that's some of the stuff that, because we've been so indentured, that a lot of the pain and the suffering that we have, that our mothers have suffered, has never really been dealt with, and even our fathers too, to certain degrees, right? Both of them have their own certain different energies that they went through. It was mom who's the single mom, while the man was out playing around with 4 or 5 moms, so to speak, as an example. So then you have the mother who's overworked, with the son who's not getting enough love, with a father figure that's not there, right? As an example, and those kind of things get carried on. And then the stuff that actually happens sort of in the day-to-day, maybe the abuses, the lack of love, all of that stuff gets played through to the offspring. And then that stuff is sort of manifested in our existence as we grow. And as a people, I was talking to someone else, or I was talking to Mocha yesterday about this, about how come we as people weren't sitting down talking about any of this, ever. And I said to myself, I'm around in my 40th revolution. It's only now that I'm starting to talk about some stuff. I remember going to therapy with my mom 20 years ago, but it was only for a brief little bit. And then because she didn't like what one of the therapists said, all of a sudden we weren't going there anymore. But I think to us as a people in general, if we're not dealing with our personal issues, and everything else is going to fall apart. And that is, I think, the biggest part. That's the thing about knowing thyself, building the perfect temple within, and all of that stuff. That's the stuff that we're still missing. We're still chasing after the illusions of the finance, right? Of the so-called comfort, which is really the illusion. So we were just stating that and looking at that's where we sort of start to try to develop some things for us to start talking about this stuff. Because it's very rarely is this stuff ever talked about or ever delved into, except into a very reactionary way.
Yeah.
Right? Buddy's in jail because he was slinging some dope, or whatever, he got kicked out of school. You never see it as healthy. Like, I think about this even now. Where's the healthy family stuff that we should be talking about? Where's the love that should be going on? Where's, you see it in little blurbs on the thing when they want, C&E or the whatever. Why are we focusing on that stuff? Because we know with healthy communities come healthy nations, right? I mean, we look at all the other cultures, but you even see them. You go to the Chinatown or India. Most of those places, they don't even look like they're functioning properly either. Yeah. But you realize there's at least some adherence to some kind of rule within the family structure. Usually it's one of the woman being like the slave and the man being master, and then usually as long as that's sort of kept, right? But but even just that broken system is what's running everything right now. It's broken. Meanwhile, the guys on top, the vampires, are sort of just controlling all of that stuff. So, but yeah, realizing that somehow we got to start looking within ourselves, because once we perfect ourselves, all of this changes.
And again, this was part of us doing this was that whole idea, going back to the thing of classes, and then okay, well, we're going from classes to meetings, because people class only works if people are studying. People are studying, then it makes sense. So okay, so now I got meetings, because after meetings stuff usually gets done after the meeting, right? And then even in that realm, we're realizing that okay, well, if we're doing meetings, it has to be specific to what it is that we want done, not just meeting because we could meet. And again, going back to the thing with other nations, there's no other nations, family, whatever, that they got, or some institution that's they got to go to learn about their culture of whatever. All that stuff is already in them already. They already know what it is with regard to them, which is why the work that we have to do is so demanding. Because we on every level, if you look at ISIS papers and the 9 fronts that they're attacking us on, that on all those they got us beat. You check every other nation, they got at least some of those handled on themselves. They got their own economic whatever, they got their own education whatever, they got their own military whatever like that. Us, all those fronts we're off on. And
one of the things I realized, I thought about that too, and I think one of the things that is most integral to that, which is what they robbed us of in the mind, is the facet of having a land, a so-called land that's theirs, right? Nigeria has a land that supposedly is theirs. So-called Hindustan has a land that's so-called theirs. Where's our land? And when we go back to that land, what is that land? Who does that land belong to in spirit? Right? When we look at it, it's really been sold out, co-opted,
and remaining occupied with the people not trying to shift the frequency. Like we're saying, we can use the activities of the corpse here, certain things that they do, especially when we talk about traffic issues, and if we talk about family issues, how they deal with those issues relative to our people and other people is totally different. Somebody that has a nationality that is not English speaking, they can go to court tomorrow. Their stuff get dismissed for 2 months. Their stuff get postponed, adjourned, or whatever for years, just because they don't know English. And that's it. No English, okay, come back next week.
You're talking about that. I know that. Because you even have your own family members. I seen in one where a family member went in for his cousin that wasn't able to attend.
Yeah.
So you got to know he's like, I'm here on behalf of my cousin, and he's just reading off the script.
Yeah.
He's like, Hindustani brother, and he's just like, I'm here on behalf of my cousin, blah, 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 blah. He's like, I am, blah, 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 blah. And he's like, we're gonna put it over, like he's picking the date that he's telling him, he's sick, and then we're just like, all right, like nationality, right?
Yeah.
Let a so-called black brother try that. See what happens.
It happened.
You see that now? The last time I encountered with him, he gave me some suits. So he took plates. He told me, bro, if you can't make it, just send me your bro. Yeah, everyone told me that. Send me your bro if you can't come to that date. And you know what? Until now, I don't look at those tickets to see what date. and February is over. I'm dead serious, February is over. And I know I don't look at those people. I don't look at them yet to see what date in February is starting about. I don't look at them. So, but I know, he told me, you could send one of your, if you can't come that day, send one of your friends. So like this guy, his cousin. When you know, you know who I am. That's like, call the supervisor and I ask her, what crime did I commit today? She took off. Not a word. Not a word. Leave him in the shit. So now he's telling me, you can't come. Send him here. I don't even look at that. Keep going. Don't even look at it.
Again, that's Brother Noor. How often do you read your Quran?
Not, I read it, but not a long pieces.
Yeah, in
just
spurts.
Yeah, sometimes I just take it and whatever page open, I read that one. Yeah. Whatever page open, I read that one.
Right. Yeah. Right. And you know, part of the whole divine and national aspect, that you know, we can go out there and find this and that and talk to these people and do whatever, but when we use our own intellect, our own five senses, our own knowledge, listen to our own little voice and just do stuff, you'll draw more energy to yourself.
Like you see, when I came late, so I don't know what's before, but from what you were saying there, the family issue, that's what made me late. That's what made me late.
Yeah.
Issues back home, calling me, getting ready, another call, Alberta, another call, all calling me. So I just say, no, I have to go to class. You all can whatever you say. This is it. My mother didn't only have children. She had grandchildren. The issue there now, they're trying to make a play area for the grandchildren. Big sister don't want it. I said, listen, my mother didn't only make children. She had grandchildren. She had great-grandchildren. If there's an issue right now, me, brother, you and all my mother's children, you could do what you want to do. Let's make a vote, all the grandchildren. Who want the little play area or not? They even called the highwayman this morning at my mother's house. I told my brother what to do. They turn around and they leave. They leave. I said, my brother, if they start opening their mouth again, get all the grandchildren, put them here and tell them, let's vote today. Who want a little play here? And all the others who don't want to play here, let's vote. Let's vote.
Yep.
Because my mother didn't only make children, she made grandchildren and great-grandchildren. Put them in their place.
Straight.
I didn't read a book to know that. Good.
Right. That is right. You know, and again, this idea of when he spoke about putting them in their place. That's all Joel is doing in the whole Quran. Slapping you. You know, metaphysics slap, astrology slap, you know, occult slap, history slap. Beer slaps people are getting. Just because. Well, like he said, what you want me to do? Kill you? Like, what more you want? Well, how do you want to solve these problems that you got? You gonna call highwayman every time? After the last 5 times you call them, they kick everybody's ass in the house or whatever. He's calling them people still, thinking that something's gonna change.
Well, he's in there too with the whole Muslim and Christianity.
Yep.
Yeah, because my people are the Christians.
Yeah.
You know? So I tell them, listen, never mind all what you are and whatever mind what I am. And mother never only made children. She made grandchildren. She made great-grandchildren. Who they say is the future of my mother? Who? Me? No. Children. You call it. Let them vote what they want. Play here or no play here. End of story.
Yep.
It's very simple. And I know. Okay. Ready to vote for the play here. Can't beat them.
All right.
They're more than us. You can't beat them. I said, don't deal with them with that. Don't have to argue with them. Don't have to argue with them. Just call all the babies. What do you want today? Prayer or thousand pounds? Which one? There, you will come out.
Therefore, we are a clean and pure nation, descended from the inhabitants of Africa. Do not desire to amalgamate or marry into the families of the pale-skinned nations of Europe. Neither serve the gods of their religion, because our forefathers are the true and divine founders of the first religious creed for the redemption and salvation of mankind on earth. Therefore, we are returning the church and Christianity back to the European nations as it was prepared by their forefathers for their earthly salvation, while we, the Moorish Americans, are returning to Islam, which was founded by our forefathers for our earthly and divine salvation. The covenant of the great God Allah: honor thy father and thy mother, and thy days will be longer upon the earth land, which the Lord thy God Allah has given thee. Come all ye Asiatics of America, and hear the truth about your nationality and your birthrights, because you are not Negroes. Learn of your forefathers' ancient and divine creed, that you would learn to love instead of hate. We are trying to uplift fallen humanity. Come and link yourself with the families of nations. We honor all true and divine prophets. I said I was chapter 48, the end of time and fulfilling of the prophecies. Yeah. Any if anybody has any questions, we'll deal with those. Yeah. Any subjects or whatever.
The Quran, 48 chapters is relating to the sister of it, and then they mentioned that 48 chapters is relating to the 48 states, Union States, at the time when the prophet was around. So I was just like shocked when she even mentioned that. But now it's 52, right? Time he was around. Right, the time that he was around, yeah. Yeah, and that's a chapter for every state. Right. The 48 chapters also.
Isn't Alaska and another one came out of it? No, states.
I don't know fully.
No, present day, I think Alaska.
Yeah, it's still, yeah.
It's not in the states and the treaty, and then they never go.
It's Hawaii too.
Yeah, Hawaii.
Alaska and Hawaii.
Yeah.
So maybe
yeah. And I remember the game, two of them never counting Canada either. So they agreed to the union. Yeah. Federation, right. So Article 11. One of the early ones, yeah. So, you know, when they talk about the states and just remember, all they had was the 13 colonies. That was all that they were supposed to be. Their jurisdiction was just that, right? Because the whole point of the whole United States idea comes from the 13 colonies. All these other stuff that they have that they're talking about, state of this and state of that or whatever, is all as they move from the seaboard. They do their little kill the buffaloes, kill the whoever, enslave the whatever, put their little, draw their little thing. Okay, a new state. Draw their little thing, a new state. Because remember all that whole moving westward was the whole Trail of Tears. Because as they're moving westward, they're getting rid of the indigenous people who are there and taking all their stuff.
It also speaks to the fact that we have fallen apart as a people.
Yeah, it wasn't their powers that did that, but it was us, our imbalance in our own family structure.
That's why for a long time I've been trying to pinpoint. It's probably library conference, I don't really know, but trying to find out where you can get more of the material of the Bevins collection. The letters between George Washington and Morocco, right? Because we have a couple of them that we've looked at, but I think there's a whole stack.
Yeah, there's a good bit.
Yeah.
Library of Congress.
I believe that there's a lot of information.
Library of Congress would be
Reading those letters.
But that's also the same thing with Grand Serdoma. They came before Columbus and whatever, because it's these people's logs or whatever that they're using, which would really have the info, because they're penning that as they don't got time to make up stuff or create something or whatever.
You know the governance at that time, how to ship it. I would like to know how to get. Maybe you can call the library and ask them. I don't know how it works. Getting it right. Oftentimes, you know, those you mentioned wars or stuff, and people also they kind of open up their, you know.
Well, that's the thing that you're saying too. That you know, speaking from the right perspective, you know, not bringing up Moors, but bringing up, you know, treaties or whatever like that might get you further in the door. Then, you know, the relationship between the Moors and the Europeans in the Americas, they might be like, oh, we don't have nothing. We don't have nothing like that. There's nothing like that. Any questions? Especially with the new people. You got any questions whatsoever? Put those up. There's a couple online ones. No questions, everybody's good?
I do, like, look back a little bit.
Oh, it's all good. Anything.
What's you said the duality thing. So what would be the circle then?
The circle would be you. The perfect man with the higher and lower self within. That's what it represents in a symbol, which is like your lower self and your higher self would be the upside down triangle and the right side, or you know, the two triangles, the Star of David. That's what that represents. That there is no duality. It's really a singularity. But we ourselves, due to our fall, create duality. But really, the duality is sort of somewhat what you consider the passage that we are dealing with right now, in the here and now, which would be the spirit, mind, body, soul issue. So you've got the soul which resides in the mind, or the soul which resides in the mind, the body which the mind resolves in, and then the spirit, which all of that revolves in. I think I'm saying that right. And then the fact that it's then you sort of defeating the bodily stuff to get into the mind or the soul of things. That then, after you've conquered that, results in the spirit as the final fruition of that. The oneness with everything, which then loses you in the oneness of everything, but it loses you to the duality of yourself being separate from everything, which is what we sort of think we are.
That's the circle. You have like two eyes, two nose openings, two ears openings, one mouth. Surface of that. Reflecting that.
Think about the word like individual, right? An individual is one person, right? But if you really break it down etymologically, it's really an indivisible duality. It's just what an individual is, right? So it's just a metaphysical way of saying that you are composed of basically two entities. You got your more physical stuff that you have to use to kind of navigate, you know, around where you got five senses, and you've got a physical body, you have to breathe, you have to pee, you have to drink, you have to eat, and there's a higher self that you can use to escape the physical body and explore or travel into novel states of consciousness that don't involve your body. But you're still you moving around, but you know you have to come back to your lower self to operate here, right? You know, use the washroom and go to class and that sort of thing, right? And take care of your family and all that sort of stuff. But that's just a physical lower self. There's a higher you that was you before you were born here, basically. What will be you after you were born here, right? So,
You said that the circle is your body.
Yeah, because if you're reading some of the chapters, like in, I think it's chapter, anyways, anyways, in Secret Brotherhood, it talks about the logos being the perfect word, 7 being the perfect number, as Rennie said, and the circle being the perfect symbol of man. Man, so that's where you have the symbols. You have the triangle, which is the symbol of power. So it generates power. You have the square, which is the symbol of solidity. That's what you build your shit on. That's the cornerstone. And then you have the circle, which is like the dome or the sphere, which represents the perfected man being able to sport in any direction. So that's what the circle represents, you as an entity. And then if you were just, let's say if you were to look down from the top on a person, he really is like a circle, you know, if you're looking at his head, right, sort of thing, right? So that's where that sort of comes from. And then that's expounded in the sign of the earth with the cross on it, breaking down how you are that person needing to perfect your time and space here in the different seasons and times, right? That's sort of what that represents. So the circle is representing how you would get to a state of being able to do anything, anywhere, in any direction. That's then manifested into the sphere that they have. And when you look at all our architecture, the old stuff all has those spheres, right? And then you look at the triangle, which is what they were trying to show you as the energy system, right? The triangles, right? So, and then the square, which is the building blocks of everything we see. And so that's where the symbology comes into it, and how the symbols are supposed to hopefully help you. And this is what all our stuff is codified in, to help you be able to sort of visualize. And I had this profound thing today that everything we are experiencing are really lessons of the soul being manifested in the physical.
Say that again.
Everything that you're going through today, that you go through in terms of your issues and stuff like that, are, so here was the example, Cujo. I was thinking that Congo represented the spirit of the Libra, or justice, or calmness in his essence. So the meeting of this guy, Congo, if anyone met Congo and went to his place, you immediately were filled with peace and serenity, and his whole place was sort of a manifestation of, I think, a state of just sort of being calm and just. And I realized today that he was the spiritual or soulful nature of, let's say, justice or Libra in the physical. That's how I experience what could be calmness. You know, when you walk into someone's house and you just, wow, this is, and people exude that kind of stuff. That's people being at a certain level.
You're talking in October?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
So that to me is, so, and I start to think that all the stuff that we go through in our relationships are really soul spirit lessons, but that are manifested in the physical. But the lessons aren't physical.
Aren't physical. We get caught up in looking at them.
And this is just, and Maru can speak on this. They were talking about certain things about how basically we as humans, our life expectancy now is 70. That's what they're saying. They were saying back in the day that we would be living to 100 to 150 years. And one of the DVDs that Maru, I remember from talks about, is that basically certain connections in the brain don't happen until you're in your 50s. Right? So very certain connections, certain places of awareness, if you don't get to that age, you never get there. So then they're talking about certain things that happen when you're in your 70s. So if your life expectancy doesn't even reach to the point of a certain awareness, then you can never transcend to a certain degree, right? If it takes you getting to a certain level. So this is where I've seen some of the stuff I was thinking about this a couple days ago. Isn't it crazy that we have children having children? Like my mom was 21 when she had me. I look at 21-year-old people today and I'm like, that's a child. That's a youth having a child. No wonder stuff's messed up.
Like 21, he used to have this 13-year-old.
I know, you see what I'm saying? That's old.
That's not this hard.
Today.
No, but then they also talk about the fact that the younger people obviously were more resilient. But I wonder how much of that is the sorcery that's really been carried out. Because really, you see, it's really, you really want grandpa having a child. Or grandma.
Yeah, at this stage, yeah.
With that kind of, with that level. Because, you know, and then, right, so that's some of the stuff that I start to realize that I think that, because they did this test where they set up a biosphere and they put some people in it in terms of living with good water, good food, whatever. And the tests sort of correlated that if these people were to stay in this state, they could live to the average of 160. So think about this. So let's say that we were able to emulate that out here. Then where would our states, our levels of consciousness be if we were actually, because let's say we were to get rid of all the garbage. And you know, when grandma and grandpa come, everybody goes to party with them, because they've gone through everything, and it's just about giving you money and giving you ice cream, you know those times, right? Like, so what if all of us could be at that state? That's what they've done. They've made sure that you know what I mean? They've made sure that you're never going to get to the time when you have your wings. So then as a people, you never, right?
Or as you get to, because some of us are accelerated, that we might have our wings early, they'll clip you to keep you in the spiral.
That's where the education system and all the training comes in, as we started before. I said, what if we were being taught, you know, fractal geometry in grade 6, or spatial, or quantum physics? Where would we be as a people?
Yeah.
They're teaching you certain things and only giving you certain streams of awareness and to make your revenue, right? So all of those things I say as, and this is where I think the prophet and we as a people are most lucky, because we have all of that stuff to fall back on, or to jump forward to. We just have to own it, and we have to stop seeing that stuff through their eyes, because that's what they've done. It's like they've thrown a blanket on our stuff. And then every time you want to get to that stuff, you sort of have to go through their stuff. And then if it's somehow not the stuff that they like, then it's illegal or unlawful. Yeah. Or if it is, then you got to pay us a certain piece of something to do it. It's kind of whack when you start looking through. I was watching
this documentary this morning about Nevada, where they decriminalized prostitution. So the pimp could get a license.
Stop it.
The pimp could get a license.
Is there a test?
There's the test. The test is the kicker. What? The pimp could get a license, and then he could have a brothel, right?
A what? A brothel, which is a
place to go do the stuff, right? The prostitutes get a license.
Yeah.
With the license, they get tested or whatever like that, so that the interaction is business now. It's not free for all, where you can get diseases, or pimp's gonna beat you up or whatever like that. You know what I mean? This is the actual, so your atmosphere is good. You got music playing and stuff like that. You can go into a building. It's crazy. Decriminalize prostitution. The first state to do it. I think the first state to do it was Nevada. Oh no. How they broke it? No, how they broke it down was there's 28 whatever of these whatevers, but like 26 of them are in Nevada or whatever. Yeah. So that's the place where everybody's going to do this this decriminalized prostitution, whatever.
Well, and a lot of those times what you'll find is that a lot of those places, and if you probably do a little digging, they might be on reserve land.
Yeah.
So a lot of that,
especially out there,
you see a lot of the time at the casinos, they'll be on reserve land. That's sort of to get themselves out of the jurisdictional issue, gambling and all this stuff that's sort of in the gray area, that they sort of then get yet again the indigenous to sign off on and pay them off with this thing to allow that negativity to exist, right? On certain levels, right? We have a casino on native land.
Yeah.
So now we're paying off the natives, but really, what are we really doing? We're really feeding a scourge.
Right.
I thought it was decriminalized here about 10 years ago.
Well, they've been going back and forth on the whole thing. It's not the fact that they say the so-called active use, giving a service for something else is that business part, isn't it? I think it's the part of the actual selling of the sex for it, which is where they say it's criminal.
It's criminal.
This is escort, but that's escort, isn't it?
So, for example, people get around that. People get around that like being given a gift, right?
Yeah.
That's how they sort of get around the legalese by it. That only a gift,
Yeah.
right? But then what happens if they find out those gifts are whatever amount, or that you're setting a price on that gift, or something such like that? But this is why I say to you about the blanket of them throwing that stuff on you. And I'll quote a seer who talked about before the European was here. This was the land of lawlessness. That's because we didn't need laws. Laws are to be the fall of stuff.
Yeah.
You shouldn't need to have a law to tell you not to hit someone or to not rob someone. That stuff would have been ingrained in you. Right from your, so those laws were really probably the interaction between the lower self going totally crazy, and then that sort of marriage between that and society and all those things, right?
That's just to show you how much they know how much money that industry's making. So that's just to show you that.
Yeah, trying to get their hands in it.
Their hands in this because they're making millions of dollars, you know.
Yeah.
So it's just to show you how much de facto they are. You know?
Yeah, that too.
Yeah. Forcing it when it was not good, and then dealing with it when they make it legal. And it's the same thing with alcohol.
Yeah. Marijuana.
Still enforced because it's within the certain parameters that they create. Those
Right.
invisible boundaries.
That's the
So with the legalization of that, you get the brothel, and then you get this thing that says I'm a pimp.
Yeah, yeah.
And a plaque.
Yeah. Yeah. You get your charter. You get your charter. You get your PIN charter. Yeah.
Now you don't-
bank account is great, and you can pay taxes on that.
Like so you're better off just avoiding all that, just telling them like because
No, it depends. Like for example, with the man that they were talking about, I think the man who they were interviewing, he owned like 60% or something of all the ones in Nevada.
So he has a certificate.
Yeah, like he has different. He has like enough different brothels. Yeah, like a franchise of brothels or whatever. They have the thing is like the girls come in there, and then the client comes in, then the girls line up or whatever, and then he picks whoever he wants. Yo, just like that. Yeah, buffet line. Pick who you want. You know what I mean? And then everybody else just goes back to whatever they're doing. You know what I mean? Until somebody comes in, the bell rings or whatever, all the girls run downstairs or whatever.
So is there a health
They all line up. They already passed that. They got their certificate. They already passed that. They're official. They're official. They're officially in it. You know, it's messed up, but it is what it is. It is where it is.
Going back to what Brother Randy said a little earlier, with jurisdictions and stuff. So, is the English language a jurisdiction unto itself? At least.
No, because it comes from so much other stuff.
Yeah.
That's how we do the etymology.
Okay.
So, for example, with what Omar brought up with here being the land of lawlessness, then everybody starts thinking, oh, there's no law there, so people must have been going nuts and cutting heads off people, and no, it just means that they know how to govern themselves. They don't need law. You know what I mean? Just like with people are ruthless, and then these people start talking about, oh, they're into this and they're doing. No, they just don't have ruth in them.
It's just like I said this morning. Instead of calling the police, call the children.
Right. Yeah.
We have our own law here now. The babies want to know, so let them go. It's that. So we don't need the law. So you can call us laws, how we solve the conversation. That's right.
So when if every little while, we just get the etymology dictionary up. You know what I mean? Just like we used to do back in the day, start at A and just read. Just to get, the perspective, or look up etymology of every word you use or whatever like that, just to see, oh, we were talking crazy. Because whatever word comes from Phoenician or Latin or, you know what I mean? There ain't no European, European word or whatever. You know, when we look at all the provinces, all those are indigenous provinces or whatever. They push it like, oh yeah, Ontario, that stuff, whatever like that. You know, city of province of da da da. But Toronto's indigenous word. What are you guys talking about?
You see the whole thing with the Parliament. They're going to do a whole protest to take back Ontario. Ontario, like, take back Ontario.
Yeah.
So where is it? They don't have it.
Yeah. You know,
They don't have it.
can't take what you don't have.
That goes back to everything. When you're talking about leave them with their Christianity. That's just watered down science also. That's us too.
Yeah.
That's taking in all of our cultural observances and making it something different.
Yeah, well, even
Integrating
on
a lot of it.
even on that level, it, you know, like when this is the whole thing with the etymology and origin of whatever, that you know that Christianity is really Constantinopian. That ain't nothing to do with Jesus or nothing like that. Strictly Rome. Nothing to do with anything other than the people who killed the Nazarene. Then they say, oh yeah, this is Christianity. Because we killed the Christ. That's why it's Christianity.
That's why they're wearing a crucifix around there.
You know what I mean? But then Acts will tell you that they hung Jesus on a tree. But what are you talking about? What do you mean crosses and all that stuff? What do you mean you guys got crosses for Christianity when he died on a tree? But nobody's not wearing no trees? Nobody?
So again, so you said in Acts it says he died on a tree.
Yeah.
In Acts.
Yeah. Their own stuff. Big 5, Acts 5 or something?
For example, in their Bible.
Yeah.
These verses Bible, and they're saying that you got on a cross.
See, Acts
It's
5.
a different genealogy. The book of Luke is a different genealogy for Jesus than the other ones too. If you pay attention, the genealogy is not the same.
Yeah.
The bloodline is not the same, right? Christianity is complicated because you know
So much hands.
so much, right? A lot of it is a cover up for ritual. A lot of it is you know like etymology. Again, you got to study what these words. You got to study because you can't separate concepts from the environments that produce them, right? You know, especially spiritual concepts. So you go back and you realize that a lot of these phrases and images and symbols refer to different acts of ritual that they were practicing. You know, a lot of them were converted Roman soldiers. And it was a big political problem for Rome, and they had to do something about it. And you know, they create the New Testament and Gospels out on practices that they were that we were doing, that we were trying to get everybody away from because they were just so powerful. They were converting the wrong people, and you know, when you're trying to invade a landmass, you can't have soldiers and people that you're bringing, you know, being involved in the indigenous practices, right? Which is what Christianity really, really refers to, in terms of eating the Christ and drinking the blood, and all that stuff is shamanic, entheogenic stuff, our stuff, right? They made it into something else to get people away from that. Oh, it's a person that we're, you know, that we crucified and that says that he's the Son of God, and then this really was a reference to our practices that we were trying to hold on to, and they were trying to get people away from that because of how powerful it was, right? It's just like you know, when they say that they circumcise us spiritually, right? Took away our spiritual stuff so we would know ourselves, and that we would, you know, give up our ritual, right? Like we were lawless because we had ritual. When we had elders, we communities, we had ritual, we didn't need laws. So we give up that stuff for their stuff. So Christianity is deep with that. So, but yeah, in Acts, this is hung from a tree, you know, which again deals with a lot of our shamanic roots, right? Santa Claus, Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, Flying Reindeer, all that stuff does it seem weird to you? Well, why is there Easter bunnies and eggs, and what's that really about, right? Why, how does all that stuff relate to this story about
our spiritual
yeah, all those things deal with our ritual practices, right, that we had, you know. So yeah, Acts says that's very clear, you know, that the Bible says a lot of things that contradict themselves, right? In the New Testament, a lot of contradicts things that they preach.
That's what I mean. That's go show you the mentality our people are on. Level.
You can't read, right?
You know,
they don't read. Yeah, that's it.
I think he's good.
I can show my mom, like, oh, look, the genealogy of Luke, she's different than Mark. It's not the same person.
oh, and it's just the next day she forgets.
Yeah.
Right? It's not even, don't ask the pastor. Ask your pastor. Ask your pastor.
Yo, don't ask him.
Right? You say, oh, what comes with 19?
Kicking you out.
Ask the pastor. Ask the pastor. The pastor's like, oh, they just, go into a church with your fez on, right? Gets all red in the face, right? Yeah. It's crazy. Christianity is a special case.
Yeah. And also too that the science of Christianity, the Gnosticism, it's really high level,
super high level.
It's not these people go do whatever that they're doing. Yeah. Which why no would say, give that stuff back to European, ain't your stuff. Praying and drinking stuff and doing whatever under the guise of some European. That's not our stuff.
But I feel that the higher ups practice it right.
Yeah.
The Pope and the red and white outfits and the higher up they do this stuff, right? They anoint themselves with the ointment. That's Christ, right? Yeah. They drink the wine infused with the intergenic stuff. They do all that stuff in their private high level sphere, but the congregation gets
gets the water down.
Yeah. They get the water down. Right? You don't teach them to read the scriptures, right? Yeah. You read the scripture carefully, you're like, oh my God, what are we really talking about?
So like let's close your eyes.
Close your eyes, lose your head.
You're right, it's high level.
Exactly what it is.
You know what's funny? When I used to go to church and whatnot back in the times when I was younger, I never understood why we had to close our eyes to this tell God we wanted to tell him. I never understood that.
Yeah. But I always noticed in there people don't close this, even the you don't close this. I'm watching. Close my eye. I watch to see who not closing their eyes.
It's madness, guys.
Any other questions?
Like you said before, it's just so hilarious how, like you said, in Africa, circles after they're so convinced about this version of, some guy coming back to save them. But it's like that's theirs. And these rituals are their rituals, right?
Yeah.
And they're just so, like I said, Rome came in, gave them something, they took it. They took the bait. They don't even realize it's their stuff, right? He took the bait.
Yeah. In our own DNA, we know we're not supposed to pray. Yeah. I remember growing up, we're all around the table. When it comes to pray, some of us, we go, close our eyes and take it out of your food, put it in my food, take it we're not supposed to close our eyes over.
See, that's why we had to hold hands to close our eyes. That's what you gotta learn from him.
Except that one cousin with the 3 hands that kept going.
There's a book you guys gotta read again. It's called Water of the Spirit. You guys heard of this book?
No.
Okay, so being baptized in the water of the Spirit, that's like the very Christian phrase, right? Mm-hmm. But there's a book by an author named Malidoma. He wrote this book, and he travels the world now teaching about it. But basically, the book is that he was kidnapped from a village in Africa. I think it was somewhere in Ghana, somewhere in the kind of like a secluded area. And in the village, at the age of 13 or so.
Oh, you never got put on a ship, brought over?
Never.
Oh,
none of that stuff.
You was kidnapped.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Then we'll talk about that, right? We'll talk about that. Anyway, in the book, he talks the book is really about is at the age of 13, everybody in the community, all the boys and the girls are separated, and they enter 6 weeks of ritual. Now the book was scary, right?
because the events of the ritual are so real and intense. They'll give you dreams. It'll make you shake. It's a really intense description of what our system used to do, right? And over here in America and whatnot, and, you know, we can say, okay, well, you know, if you look at the Torah, for example, we're Shem and they're Ham, but there are brothers who still similar rituals, same practices, right? Right, yeah, same practices. We help each other out, same practices. So, but he talks about, instead of him being about the ritual, he was kidnapped by Christian missionaries on purpose, because when he was born, he was in Abdullah. So his name means to make friends with the enemies like that. So it's always his destiny, the moment of whisper, it's always to be kidnapped and raised in a Christian school. So anyway, he goes to his Christian school for 15 years. It's brutal. And he escapes one day. He goes back to the village. But in order to be accepted, he has to be initiated in the old rituals. And it almost kills him, it almost takes his life, right? Because of how he lost his way. Yeah, he lost his way. It almost kills him because it's so unfamiliar to the experience that he's had. He almost can't get back, right? Yeah. But anyway, it shows you that in the book, it talks about what the Christian schools do to these kids now. Yeah. How they take them out of their ritual. And these kids who grow up, actually, because they're so young, they're 4 or 5 years old, completely forget village life, ritual life, elders, and they are totally convinced in the Jesus motif. Completely forget. So to the point where he almost died in his ritual.
Today's day, I thought I was proud to be black. It's simple, same thing. We get caught up in
Lost.
You gotta read this book.
That's how we get lost.
I was the same way.
Anybody watch that?
You gotta read this book, man.
Symbolism on Netflix.
Yes.
Yeah.
Similar? Is it similar?
Yeah. Maybe like
More than you.
Not really. Like, I watched it last night. I didn't like it. Like, I mean, it's good for entertaining to watch. Like, but I guess there's so many symbols, so many things, right? And you got these people in there, and you have all these people, and the fact that nationless people are not, they're beasts, therefore, right? So it's just like, and then you see, and I'm just thinking also that's how they're picking people, and then in the back of my mind, I'm realizing that this is from the perspective of the colonizer. The colonizer's budget and ideas all behind this, and then this is how they're portraying our relatives, our people, like as beasts, and this is what they're doing. And I'm trying to figure out like what degree of it is true, like is
actual
fiction of things, and then what's they're trying to get us to think and stuff. So.
But it works, right? It makes you turn against your own. You turn against your own ways. You completely separate from it, right?
Everybody who's on there,
think they're beasts. Good.
And we're figuring out.
We think the elders are beasts, right?
Yeah.
He comes back home from the missionary and he's like, "Oh my God, you got to live in these mud houses and you got these open, airs for animals, and it smells weird, and it's, you can't get back in, right? He almost dies because
lost out of your own stuff. Anybody else got any questions or?
There's a thing regards stages that we go through for the ladies, the mothers. For the mothers, the girls, they are like a baby, coming out. Before, what you call it, start to see period. They are one different person. Before period, one different person they are. And then when they start to see period, they move into another level. They make babies, and they raise babies, and then they go to, after the baby grow up, they go away maternity, or what do you call it?
You're talking about they don't have the period anymore?
Yeah, like they don't have the period no more. That's when they're reaching their highest, like the highest power now. And it's like for them to know, the baby needs to know, the girl needs to know all the process they're gonna go through in life to get to that. And when you get to that, that's where you can't know what that 85-year-old know at 50. No, you think you know, but you can't.
Right.
You can't. Then our babies need to know that. small. So when they reach to this stage, they don't. It's
They're not surprised, yeah.
It's not surprised to them, but they don't teach us that.
Yeah.
You know, they don't teach that. They don't teach us that.
Well, these are the rites of passage that he was talking about.
Okay.
And in his book could only speak from the male experience. For the female experience too, there's a different set of schoolings that's going to teach her about herself. That's the rites of passage for the female.
That's right.
Yeah, also, every 7 years, we've shed every single cell that we have right now. So every 7 years, 7 is a sacred number. There's different learning things and different things that we achieved and that we could never have 7 years earlier.
It goes back to the 7 days.
Right.
And after 7, the 7 or 7s of the moon and the sun.
Yeah.
The moon, whatever. It goes back to the cycle of your period now. Every 28 days, every 4 or 7 days, it goes back. It's the same thing.
And it's all cyclical. So that person at 15 will have an understanding, I say it on purpose, of what that person has an overstanding at 8.
Yeah.
And it just keeps, cycling. If you're learning the lessons and you're on the right path to keep going on with this world.
Exactly.
The importance of it takes a village to raise a child.
Yeah.
But I think we have to be cautious too on a certain level when we talk about the male and female experience. I feel like we have to understand that it's still the singularity. Man is just woman perverted. Right? Woman is a part of man. Woman creates man. So we have all of that in us. I think the issue is they've got us separated. That's how we can end up treating the other gender the way we do, because we have lost the fact that we are connected, and that's something that I think that there are similarities to all. There are, all of us sleep, all of us wink, all of us go to the washroom. Those are
they are.
We should be looking at
one thing for sure though, we ain't carrying nobody for 9 months. So
which is
fair
fair.
enough about this. That's the little difference.
Seahorses do it.
I ain't gonna see that.
But then,
military appointment.
I'm not gonna see that.
but then also, I think we also have to understand too that part of what I think part of it is when we say that we're evolving and that, let's say, at a certain age we learn a certain thing. I think our biggest problem is that lots of times people are at ages and haven't learned things that they should have learned as children.
Pre that, yeah.
So you can have
That's why I said teach the babies now what you're gonna go to
Right.
85 years old.
Yeah.
That's what I said. Teach them now. Right now. Teach them. Don't be afraid to tell them.
Tell them
You're gonna have to figure out one day.
Same thing
One
that-
day, because they sure to have it, I can tell you.
Yeah.
They sure to have
Same thing with what Omar was saying with the schooling. That if they were teaching us that trigonometry and all that grade 1, we wouldn't have no issues right now.
The engineers.
We wouldn't have any issues.
no issue.
Everything would be straight.
That's what they do.
They don't. It's the one ambitious.
That's what it is.
We're probably gonna
That's in the-
close out in about 10 minutes. There was 2 online questions that we got sent. The first one was with regard to getting a charter somewhere where there's no temple or whatever like that. One of the perspectives that we want people not caught up in is thinking that they need that charter to do certain stuff. Right? Always remember that as much as we speak from the perspective of Noble Drew Ali and Moorish Science Temple Moorish movement, our charter didn't come from people who were in the corrupt state of the Moorish, activity, right? We were chartered by Moors who saw the corrupt state and then they removed themselves from that and started exercising as how this is supposed to be. At that time, the ability to get a charter was from a sincere position with people. You go today to some of these more science temples or whatever, and they start telling you about, well, to get a charter, you got to do 6 months in our temple with a red shirt on or wear a red tie or whatever like that to qualify yourself to be whatever, you know that they're playing a game with the charter. They're not dealing with the sovereignty. They're going down the notches and dealing with the corporate position or the incorporated position or whatever, which is dealing with this from the wrong perspective. So you're going to have that charter, but if you got it from Moors who are dealing with this not from the civic perspective, the charter is useless anyways, because now they're just going to use that charter over you to keep you from being able to do the work that it is that you're supposed to be doing. So we go from the perspective of set up learning institutions for people. There's things that we need moreish. We need community centers. We need, don't get caught up in charter, Moorish Science Temple. That's the only place that people can learn about Moors. This is an open jurisdiction. Once you know your El Bay, once you know 5 principles, if you're going to be clowning with this or whatever under the guise of, well, yeah, now we can do something and you set up whatever and you're doing BS, Allah will deal with you. There ain't even no issues of worrying people doing wrong with this or whatever. They're going to get theirs. The people who are sincere with this, put this information out so that the people could be liberated mentally. You know what I mean? Open a school. They got certain states out there, you can go to the city, they give you a school for $1. Just give you $1, you get the school. They don't need GoFundMe 50 million or whatever to have a school. Right? In certain places, it's that easy. Like what we used to do, get a community center and have some youth program. Get out of, wake up our people means, some adults come into something to go learn. Set up something so children can come and learn. Like what our brother Noir said, especially if you're somewhere where this thing isn't established. Like Drew Ali said, if there ain't nobody there, then you be that one.
Yeah.
To make sure that things get done. And again, it doesn't have to be done under the banner of Moorish Science Temple. You could put Noble Drew Ali up front. Leave the temple out of it. Put the pictures, put the prophet's face on something and start exercising what's supposed to be exercised. You already know what the principles are. You already know the motto, uplift all humanity. You already know, Quran. You got your Quran? Go to the print man, make some copies, give those out at your little program or your classes or whatever. You got your own books, you got your own library, make photocopies of that. Put that stuff out. In order to get something going where the appearance is that there's nothing there. But the real thing is making sure that we're getting this info to the young people, getting the info to the ones who are of the mindset of wanting this, because like we're saying with other things, this ain't, this isn't for everybody. There's people who they're going to see this and they're going to turn away and go the other direction, like Drew Ali said. And there's other people who they'll die for this because that's what it means to them. The people who will die for this are the ones who should be out here doing something with this. If that's not your position, if this is just get something out, then it's probably not, because like we said, we're looking at 10 years. And the amount of switching up of people in the door, out the door, in the door, out the door, people friggin' come here and never see them ever again. We should have been packed up and said, forget this, because of people's inconsistencies, right? But outside of our jurisdiction, ever since 08, 09 or whatever, people outside been looking to this jurisdiction as, oh yeah, that's the jurisdiction of Moors we want to deal with. Because when we watch their stuff, we're not getting none of the stuff that Temple's talking about We're not getting any of the stuff that all these other people out here is claiming that they're Moorish, whatever it's talking about. When we go to them, we're getting, you know, Jabbar Gainesville Skypes and, you know, Jose Pimenta Bay. And these people aren't just limited to Noble Drive's literature only or whatever, right? So the main thing is making sure that we can get this information to our people without the confusion, right? Eliminate the confusion.
It's like having the birthright and nationality card.
Yeah.
That's easy to print and give it to you.
Right.
But not knowing nothing about it, have no use.
Exactly.
Have no use.
Exactly.
Without even having the card and have the knowledge and the brain, you could read every word of the card to somebody and you don't even have the card.
Yeah.
You don't even have the card yourself, but you could read everything to someone that's on the card. This is I am this, that, CCC, whatever on the card. You could do it if you know it. So the card is like, hey, it's okay, it's just it's the knowledge. Knowledge. So you don't have to have, like you said, you don't have all that. No, start a little study group. Yeah.
Yeah. No, and
like you said, now you get a school. Just start a little school.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And also with you know, one of the things with our online chat is that there's more on there from everywhere. So it's even better opposed to you have some brilliant idea and you're going to implement that. Try find some mores where you're at.
Mm-hmm.
We know that they're out there. They might not appear like that really, but you were ready. You're out in Hamilton. You know, at one time it was just you and Supreme out there. Now there's a few more Moors out there. There's actually fezzes out there now. You know what I mean? We went to Ottawa, Moors were there. Moors had fezzes out when they came out. We don't even know who these people are.
Mm-hmm.
But they know who they are.
That's what it is. I was talking with someone online, I can't remember the state, and I was like, oh, you guys got a temple down there? He's like, yeah. I'm like, what's the address? Like, address? And then it clicked. I'm like, you're saying you're the temple. That's right.
That's it. That's it. That's it. I like that.
Exactly. Right. So yeah, if you can find some Moors to do some work, you know what I mean, help them get some work. With regard to the Great Seal medallions, that's one of the Moors in Philly, Brother Nebu, who is you could say, what is it, artisan? The artisan makes stuff out of different whatever. Mastered the jewelry aspect of it. So Brother Bay, I'll send you the contact if anybody else wants the contacts. The for the Great Seal medallions, the Circle 7 rings, and whatever else. I'll definitely send you that info. Yeah, look at it. Yeah. We had any other questions? Since I know you just got here, we're just about to close up, but I wanted to give you an opportunity if you have any questions. You can throw those out and we could give you a little insight.
Well, I think I kind of walked in at the most opportune time because I was trying to get done from a lot earlier and I couldn't quite make it. But I've been trying to put together a study group myself, just because I'm in the position to be able to start studying myself. But I just feel that it's going to be, a lot more conductive, a lot more. I'm going to help myself by studying alongside other people, right? So I'm not too far. Like I live in East York. I'm right around the corner. But my issue was, reaching out and finding people out there, finding people who are actually interested. Because a lot of times you reach out and then it's like, yeah. And then as soon as, you know, they get scared by the knowledge, right?
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's part of the reason why, you know, we have this. You know, there's members here who you can connect with on that level. People all over the city, whether it came in from Hamilton, Ajax, West End, Scarborough, whatever. So there's definitely that aspect of being able to, you know, get with like-minded people. You know what I mean? And that's sort of where our energy is moving, and has been moving, because we realize that this is not going to be something where, you know, droves are going to be coming in here to get this info. Because like you said, start dealing with truth. Our people don't even want to deal with truth, much less divine truth or truth that we got, which is going to, you know, really get them to either give up all the stuff that they got, or, you know, hold on harder to the little stuff that they got that they think is something. Yeah, you could just connect with different Morris here and get some contacts or whatever. And then we're here Sundays, 12 p.m. And this is our open forum where people can, you know, bring. Yeah. All right. Proper. All right. Was there any other any other immediate
I was just here
questions?
to offer my energy. That's
All
it.
right. Good. Thanks. Appreciate that. Anybody else? Brother Peters, any questions? You straight? Good. All right.
Next generation is out.
Yeah. Brother Omar, you got some updates?
Just looking at the vernal equinox, I guess event or celebration that we have every year. We're thinking this year to go to Port Hope, find some spot on the water there. So it should be probably the weekend, I'm pretty sure, of the, I don't know whether it's going to be the 23rd or the 24th, one of those days. We can nail it down next week. That's something that we've been doing annually. Where we sort of hopefully some of the ceremony is coming with the stuff that maybe you want to sort of put away, and the stuff that you want to sort of initiate, having those things so that you can sort of through the rituals sort of give it life. So we'll be following up with that. We have, obviously in our I guess we don't know how we can bring this up with that. In our continual sort of day-to-day stuff with sort of finances, this month we have been short on the rent. But what we're wanting to know is that there have been a change jar that have been initiated, and there was some funds in there. And what we're looking to want to do, I guess, since the funds came from the people, since the funds were supposed to be for an emergency fund, do the people here, I guess, in sort of in lieu of a sort of town hall, do we agree that this would be something to put those funds towards in terms of making our rent? And I guess we can sign off on that. It's about $150 or something. That will help us cover our rent. So are we all in agreement with that?
Nice.
And that email I just before is where we send donations to, right?
Yeah.
And then just looking to move forward, we have, I've been in this movement now about 7-8 years, and looking at, as our brothers here talking about and sisters here talking about evolution and things moving forward. I think as an entity we have to continue to grow and adjust as well. So any of us who've been in the smaller place that we were at know where we've come from to where we're at, and how that is going to take finance and energy to keep it going. Some of the stuff that I know Cujo and some of the sort of adepts have kept is that the door should always be open for people to come in, which we are in agreement with. But what we've noticed, and some of us have sort of seen the results of this, is we've seen that with the du jour stuff that really isn't for sale, people have a hard time sort of contributing towards. This is just a generalization. But to the fraud, and to all the de facto stuff, people are throwing cash at it. We know of certain Moors here in this jurisdiction that have taken crazy amounts of fiat for fraud, and then those same people have come to us to get the light and then haven't supported. Anyways, these are just sort of a little backstory to where we're going. So what we felt is that obviously, I liken it to the gym. When I go to the gym, if I don't have a membership, then I got to pay a daily charge to come and use the gym, right? So what we're looking at, but I know that what I do is I pay my membership, so I get unlimited, right? So what we have is we have a $25 dues or due for nations, or a contribution that allows you to come to the meeting, to be involved in all this stuff and get all of the sort of benefits of that. And then what we're just sort of giving the heads up that what we're looking to do is sort of offer 5 free visits. I think we've mentioned this before, 5 free visits to anyone who hasn't attended here, but after the 5th free visit, if you want to continue to attend, then there should be some kind of contribution. You've settled it at maybe $5 a class, but if not, pay your $25 and then receive your gifts, so to speak. So we're just putting that out there.
That is not a charge. It's not a price. It's just a contribution. Keep it going.
Right.
Well, yes. So what we're finding is that
I'm agreeing with you. So I'm saying at the same time, it's not like I'm charging you.
That's right.
It's just
But what I was, that's why I brought up the other stuff from prior, that it feels that, and this is some of the issues I've had, it feels like we know that the prophet made us know that nationality is free. But what I've found is that, and I've said this before to the other adepts, that it seems that we're confused by the fact that nationality is free, but other stuff costs. But then we feel bad about asking people to help support stuff and keep stuff alive.
once you break it down to let them understand.
Yeah.
Right, but it's not even that. What I think it is, that's part of the sorcery that we know about. That we ain't got no problem paying that tax, not to say that was, or whatever it is.
Whatever it is,
Whatever form that is. And we ask for people to put it into the temple and stuff, and all of a sudden people start humming and hawing and looking the other way and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So just putting that.
Those ones are asleep.
So there's that. And then not lastly, but one of the things that I initiated, and we're looking at obviously our new year. As Moors, we consider the vernal equinox one of our new years, one of our main new years. That's the spring forward. One of the things that I had and some of the other alumni have agreed upon is trying to make this the year of the offspring. So to do some things for the offspring. So one of the ideas that our brother Landry had was, I think there was a rock climbing place that we were thinking of on a Saturday, getting us all together, all fezzed up, bringing the little ones there, maybe letting them have a climb. We found out that this has been some of our things. We found out that was $20 an hour. Now, if people have a hard time paying $25 a month, then to get some people out for $25 an hour might be asking too much. But as you see, spring is spring around the corner, so hopefully maybe there'll be some stuff outside. But what we're looking to do is try and get some events for the little ones. Yeah. I work in a certain industry, and I was up at an observatory, and I was seeing that what I want to do this year is they have a family day with that, and I think that starts in late March. And I want to get the offspring up there to this observatory, and we start getting them initiated into the sciences that the rulers and that the elites have. While we're looking at Nintendo, they're looking at the stars. See what I'm saying? So, but that doesn't have to be the Royal Ontario Museum. I went to the art gallery a couple of years ago. It was profound. It was exciting. So I'm thinking that this year, what we're looking to do is try and get some stuff, and let's put the focus into the little ones, the offspring. So we're thinking that maybe the rock climbing thing right now until we figure out what the rates are. Something. I tried to initiate having a winter solstice walk. I think as Moors, we're all warm weather people, so we're a lot of people out for that walk. But,
you walk too fast.
Anyway, but that I'm just putting that out into our energies. That I'm hoping that we can look for something to get the little ones out to. I'm looking to try and have a number of events this year with them as the focus. So as I said, I'm looking to try and get them to the Royal Ontario Museum, an observatory. Let's get them up to some parks, doing some stuff. And an idea that came to me while we were thinking, hey, let's have a more treasure hunt for the little ones. And maybe we go to a park and we lay some stuff up, and we can, maybe sort of get it in a way that starts stimulating them, sort of activating some of our stuff, stuff that we have. So anyways, those are some of the ideas. I just wanted to put that out to there, and then I'm sure we'll be having a town hall soon. We're supposed to be having a town hall every week, or I don't know. Anyways, that's food for thought.
And just add on to that too, you know, town hall, I think what you mentioned is like the whole thing with saying how we're short on rent, which it shouldn't have never been even popular. You know, like stuff like that needs to be talked about, you know, because that's not even something that should even be mentioned.
Yeah, I kind of feel that way too. Like, it's such private matter that we shouldn't publicize it.
No, the only reason is because of this thing of, you know, people don't care where the church is putting their funds, but they want to know where we're putting ours. So we put it out there so nobody can say, so what are you guys doing with the money and how come this and that? Because we've gone there before where, you know, people think that, you know, we're like other people out here with fezzes and turbans on that's about raping their people. So they're, you know, so.
Or more importantly, just to cut you, more importantly, how we seem to not really support our own businesses.
And again, whoever don't come to trust won't hear it if they're online, so.
Yeah.
But I mean,
So
this is some of the deeper stuff that, like the sister was talking about, some, you know, sort of the study groups. This is some of the stuff that, just to put you guys on notice again, that to me, even this, I see this as being sort of what you call an open house. I've been down here 7, 8 years. More has to be done. We have to get more organized in certain ways, and we have to start figuring out. The prophet keeps telling us, this is what I find though. We talk about more, talked about, we're sort of reading stuff over, but we're not really imprinting it on us. The prophet said, refinance. And we need it now. Each one of us is getting up and going to our slave every day and just doing the same thing. So it's sort of like a type of psychopathology. We're messed up. We've been given the freedom. And then I used to say to Cujo, I feel like I'm in the jail, but really the jail, all the doors are open now. The problem is we don't know what to do because we haven't been out of the jail. That's part of it too. We don't know. Where's our so-called Moorish business or black business? Where is it when you look around? A couple of barber shops and some food spots or something. Where are we as that community? So that's some of the stuff that I want to see us talking about, because ultimately the way that their communities support their churches. Churches are built.
Yeah.
You don't see the priest building the church. No, it's the community that's coming. However they've done their thing, that church is built.
Or temple or
whatever it is. That thing is built by the people.
Yeah.
And then the administrators come in. Not to say that the administrator is not here, but in this situation, that the administrator is paying, building, cleaning everything, and then we're coming in here and out of here, and then we're looking to have this be the thing that's going to save us from them, so to speak, right? Because all of us sort of are here from a certain perspective of seeing this as being some kind of oppressive thing that we've got to battle out of. But really the battle is in the mirror. Those are the announcements for that, I guess, the next couple of weeks. So I guess really our next focus would be the Sport Hope event. Like I said, it'll be on the 23rd or the 24th, and go from there.
And again, our springing forward event or initiative that we do also coincides with our new year, with us being, you know, going into that place, March, end of March, moving into, that's when we're really supposed to be saying Happy New Year and blowing the stuff and all that, right? So keep that in mind as well, just with the Moors, that the energy of 21st, 22nd, 23rd, whatever, is that same January 1st, 2nd, 3rd, where, you know what I mean? So make sure you reach out to each other, make sure you put the energy out there, whatever, that now it's New Year. Don't not put it out on the guise of, you know, January 1st or whatever. We need to put certain things in the ethers as well for ourselves.
For sons and power.
Oh yeah, and then one more thing. I forgot to mention this at the thing. Got the email from City of Toronto for the cleanup. So April 27th, is the date for that.
Can I ask you to elaborate a little further?
The last year we received an email from the city about signing up for Clean Toronto campaign or whatever. So we did it last year. Last year we did from Caledonia to Kiel. So we're gonna do the same thing this year, and it's just being that a lot of our activity is based on us being seen. One of the things that we try to do is make sure that we're doing these type of humanitarian initiatives. So we do food drives, clothing drives, clean whatever. Anytime we have something external or outside of the temple to do, we're in our garb, feathers, turbans, whatever, so that people could see that there's this body of people out here. And not only that we're out here, but we're part of trying to make this place better than what it is.
And it's something too that we never see before.
Right. Yeah.
It's good because last year.
So specifically, it's being out there with
tanks and whatever.
Yeah.
Specifically, it's being out there with gloves, brooms, those kind of things, and you're just working your way down the street, cleaning different, the areas in front of different stores, including our own. So that's what it really entails. What do we have? Like 25.
Yeah, we had about 20.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had about 20 bags of stuff or something. It was pretty crazy. Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
There were some, just to throw it out there were certain areas up there where I think we found a needle.
Yeah, syringes and stuff like that.
This year we're going to be aware of not wanting to touch stuff.
Yeah.
Well, just
but just being, like for example, last year we didn't have brooms. You know what I mean? So everything was by hand, if you will. Or we had like the picker uppers or whatever like that. But those things there, pick up 5 things with those things are done. 2 seconds.
This is just moving forward to Kujo. I had introduced this a long time ago. Kujo's brought it back. We're looking at trying to have maybe a couple of less lectures, at least one in a park. Maybe we go to that park and clean the park.
Yeah.
So not make it anything too huge, but make a park that was a reasonable size. We can come in there, clean up before, and have a sit down, and for this year. Yeah, this year we're definitely going to be doing more outside meetings, classes, or whatever. Going to Christie Pitts, wherever, Hyde Park, wherever it is. Just meet there, bring our same thing, bring our food, bring our whatever, and we have class outside for those days. Then,
or whatever.
Just on that vein too, within this being more outward, we're looking this year too. This will be being set up in the next month or two. Of trying to sort of make some visits on some organizations, not individuals. I.e., maybe get down to we talked about it a lot. We can get down to City Hall. And maybe 2 months from now, we're all gonna, whoever can, take a Friday off or a Monday off or whatever it is, and show up there, fezzed up. Maybe do a little bit of the research to see when things happening.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So, for example, they had during February they had a black event. And the mayor and Saunders was there. Kujo, let's go. Why are we going to go to a black event to meet? All right, fine. But but I knew the energy was there.
Yeah.
So I get it. But ultimately, this is some of the stuff that Nature Albeit, if you all know him, has talked about that. Right now, we have to start sporting in some of those other sort of
jurisdictions,
pseudo nonsensical jurisdictions, the municipalities, the provincial levels, the federal levels. We have to start sporting on those levels. Also, and this is just putting it out there, but maybe we can be a little more organized. Maybe try to run in and bump into some of these other embassies. We were thinking about hitting the Moroccan embassy in Montreal because we were there by accident. And then Kujo's like, well, what about the one here in Toronto? They have one here in Toronto, Moroccan embassy. Now remember, that's the Empire. But let's sit down. But this is some of the stuff that rather than sitting around sort of doing
this.
sort
We
of
could-
what
we
we
could
want
be
to do,
doing-
maybe sit down and have a brainstorming as to how we're gonna go, what kind of form that's gonna take, maybe who's gonna go, who's not, if that's the case, and be organized about it.
Right.
Do a little research, who's there, who are we reaching out to? Maybe come with some writs and some affidavits, drop some stuff. So to us, this year is going to be the year of trying to sort of take this to the next level, because I think we've seen through either omission, which is people just not either being complacent or apathetic, or commission. Hey, we're going to make sure that either I'm going to be on top of this, i.e. that's whoever's talking, I'm going to try and just continue to suck the energy off, or I might be an agent trying to make sure that this stuff just sort of falters. But we've got to start, because remember, it's not for us, it's for our offspring. Right? It's so that the next offspring that are here, they don't have to go to some license. They don't have to go get some thing, because we've laid that groundwork. You know, one of the dreams which will happen in the next couple of years, we'll have a school. Bring your young ones to the school here, so that they can now then be the leaders. Islam.
Islam. Any other comments, questions before we close out? Looks like online's empty.
Yes, the messages from me.
Last.
Just the conversation.
Yeah.
I was messaging on my way here.
Okay.
I was like,
Okay. Oh, that was you that called.
yeah, I
Okay.
called.
Is that you?
That was me.
Okay.
But I knew that the address was on the machine, and I kept trying to find it online. But all of the pictures, it was blocked off the first part of the address.
The parking is the one that it'd be good to do it in a place where there's more unconscious moors of the shore, right? So they can see.
Yeah. Definitely. I mean, you know, in the summer, we have you know, ample amounts of parks all over the place. So, you know, it might be a thing where
But I look at the logistics of it. To me personally, if we're going to have something in a park like that, to me, I'm sensing that either we're going to have to bring some stuff in terms of, you know, I thought about this. I think I have a portable sort of easel you can bring out there with a whiteboard on it that you can sort of, you know, maybe break some stuff down. I've got a portable Wi-Fi thing. You can maybe set that up so you can be real time like that, but then also to have comfortable seating for the people. So ultimately, my thought is you need to probably go to a place maybe where they have picnic benches, and we can maybe sort of set up.
Yeah, or people bring their little fold-out chair.
That way you can maybe have, you know, we can string some picnic benches together, or that they're already set up there. So maybe that kind of stuff. Right?
Or the shoulder armchair or whatever.
Those little armchair things.
Yeah.
But I mean, that might then be an issue too.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, you know, it's like we're saying with all the support, with all the other stuff, you know, if it's Afrofest, Caravan or whatever like that, they're gonna string their 5 bags or whatever and go downtown. It ain't no issue. So whenever it's anything else where they gotta sit somewhere where there's no seat, people have their bag on their shoulder with their chair.
Sure, yes.
I mean, you know, people who aren't, you know, the non-mobile people will bring their little chair so they could sit down or whatever. You know what I mean? So seating, and there's always the beautiful grass you could sit into. People are real crazy about they need a seat.
Well, or maybe more importantly, you can bring some kind of blanket.
Yeah, whatever, yeah, whatever it is. All right. Straight. That's it. We got about a half hour or something like that before we get out of here today. So we'll just close out, and Morris could get a little built-in going on. Now it goes. So no other questions, comments? Everybody's good? Islam, give thanks for your time. Next week, 12 o'clock. So we'll just close out. 5 on the left, 2 on the right. Allah, the Father of the universe, Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. God, my protector, my guide, and my salvation. By night and by day, through his holy prophet, Islam. Ashe. Islam, Morris. Peace and love. See y'all in the week. Islam.